In this video, we'll be showing you how to assemble a TritiLED kit. To get started, you'll need the PCB and the parts arranged on the mat. I recommend a PCB holder. It will make your life a lot easier, keeping the board stable and the parts where they should be while you're working. Align the PCB so that the inductor pads are facing downwards, and the board is at a comfortable angle for you to work on. Make sure that the board is not held too tightly, as we will be rotating it as we continue to put on parts. Position your parts where they're comfortably within reach and unlikely to be knocked around. Ensure your soldering iron is hot and ready to work with. The first part we'll be soldering is L1, the inductor. Begin by tinning the pad. You need enough solder on the pad to ensure efficient heat transfer to the bottom of the inductor when you place it, but not so much that the pad overflows onto adjacent pads. Pick up the inductor and use your iron to bring the pad back up to molten solder temperature. Place the inductor and move the iron back and forth to even out temperature along the bottom of the inductor until it fully joins. Heat the pad and the contact of the opposite side simultaneously, feeding in solder as you move along the length of the contact. Prepare to tin the next pad. This is a good opportunity to clean up the original pad if necessary or reheat it. Tin the upper pad for C1. Place and solder C1. Rotate the board about 30 degrees for better access to R1. Tin the pad for R1 and then retrieve it from the mat. Solder R1 in place. Rotate the board for better access to Q2. Tin the pad for Q2. Then retrieve it from the mat and solder it in place. Rotate the board to better have access to SW1, the switch. Tin the pad. Retrieve the switch from the mat, place it onto pads, and solder. Remove the PCB from the holder, rotate it 90 degrees, and replace it. Tin the pad for U1. Retrieve U1 from the mat. Note that the dot on the MCU should be on the bottom right. Carefully align the microcontroller with the pads on the PCB. Once aligned, solder the remaining pins. Tin the pad for C2. Place and solder C2. Rotate the PCB for access to Q1. Tin the pad. Place and solder Q1. Pick up D1, aligning it to the proper orientation of the pads for the correct polarity. Ensure that the plus symbol is on the bottom and the minus is on the top. Tin the pad for D1. Solder the diode. You might require several adjustments to ensure that the pads are properly overlapped. Remove the board from the PCB holder and flip it over, ensuring that the solder points are vertically oriented. Tin the pad for the battery clip. Carefully place the battery clip on the tinned pad. The top portion may require several adjustments to align properly with the pad on the other side. Remove the PCB from the PCB holder. Now that all components have been soldered, take a few moments to look through your parts and ensure that nothing has been incorrectly soldered and there are no solder joints between adjacent pins on the microcontroller. Retrieve the coin cell and place it into the battery clip, with the positive indicator pointing outwards. If everything was done correctly, the TritiLED should now be glowing. Congratulations!